We are now on a completely different timeline. Could this be the timeline where the evil controllers of this planet get defeated? Well, it could quite possibly be the case. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and my goal is to help you effectively navigate the chaos on this planet so that you can stay on a higher timeline of natural human evolution. Now, I have many earlier videos about the previous timeline split between AI and natural human evolution. Well, that split has already occurred, and it looks like we chose the AI timeline. But all is not lost, because here is the beautiful thing about timelines. At any point on any given timeline, we always have the power to pivot in a new direction. And I think that might be what we are in the process of doing in this very case right now. Now, earlier on, the AI timeline looked incredibly dire. And I think it was because before that split finally occurred, we were relatively unconscious at a collective level. So from where we were, it didn't look like there was a lot of hope if we made the choice to go with AI. Well, once we made that AI choice, a new level of awakening began to take place. And here is why I think that happened. I think it happened because the controllers became increasingly arrogant and began to show their true colors more and more. They made it increasingly obvious that they intended to use AI for some pretty nefarious purposes. In fact, they became so overconfident that they gave us all a pretty detailed picture of what they intended to do to us. Let's review what that looked like. They intended to use AI to track our every move and create digital IDs and a digital currency so they would have total control over our movements and finances. They made it clear that they could then turn off our money anytime they wanted to. They made up all kinds of lies about life and nature. Let's start with the changing climate issue. First of all, planet Earth exists as a living ecosystem. Its climate is in constant motion. Of course, the climate changes. Every living thing exists in a constant state of change and flux. Life is dynamic and often unpredictable, and so is our planet and all of its ecosystems. And so is the entire universe. These guys want us to believe that all of this movement and dynamic motion that is in constant play on our planet is supposed to be completely the same all the time. And if it's not, there must be something wrong. I believe that our planet has always been in a state of change and that it always will be. This is a completely natural state of being. But here's what the controllers did with this very natural fact. They decided to make up some pretty sensational stories about it. So let's take a closer look at this made-up story of theirs. They told us that the climate starts with humans. Just by our very existence, we humans apparently create Earth's climate. According to these characters, we humans are the sole generators of Earth's climate and how it unfolds. Here's why they say that's a problem for them. They say it's because we are carbon-based, and carbon is bad. Therefore, we are bad. Why, you may ask? Well, because they said so. That's why. So now, anything that produces carbon on a carbon-based biological planet is bad for the planet. And apparently we humans are the worst offenders because we tend to do a lot more things than any of the other creatures on Earth. Next, they decided to equate daily weather with the climate. This worked out really well because anytime that weather happened, they could point to it and say, see, that's the climate change we were talking about. So weather was used as the physical evidence for this epic story of theirs. Next, they decided that they didn't like us humans creating all of this weather. So the only logical thing to do would be to give us a global preview of how they wanted us to live in order to prevent us from generating more weather. Anytime weather happens, well, it must be our fault as humans, right? Anytime it snows in the winter or gets really hot in the summer, they can just point to all of us and say, there you go again, creating weather. But here's where I think they kind of really blew it. Around the year 2020, they decided it would be a great idea to have a ginormous health issue worldwide. And this would give them a good reason to show us exactly how they want us to live. This would give them a way to give us that experience firsthand. Plus, it would give them a chance to create the entire global infrastructure needed for their future diabolical AI plot. They told us to cover our faces with cloth so we would see that humans breathing is a very dangerous and bad thing. See, because we tend to exhale all of that carbon, right? And carbon is very bad for a carbon-based biological planet. And they wanted us to be very afraid of each other's need to breathe. In fact, they wanted us to be so afraid of each other that we would see the logic in staying 6 feet apart from any other breathing human. But here's what they neglected to tell us at the time. Apparently, this was the exact distance needed for AI at that time to be able to easily track people in motion. What a coincidence! And then they told us, of course, that the safest thing to do was to stay in the house and never go anywhere. That way you would be safe from other humans and their life-threatening tendency to breathe. Then they told us that we needed these special apps in our phones so that businesses would know if we were safe or not. And I think you guys know what I'm referring to without my having to spell it out. Can you believe they kept us in that state for 2 entire years? See, that gave them plenty of time to work out their secret infrastructure that was really designed to be used in the future for this ongoing weather problem. Plus, they achieved the added bonus of getting us to adapt how they wanted us to live in the future. So when they finally took their foot off the gas of their diabolical plot, something happened that these controllers had not accounted for. People everywhere woke up from their trauma-induced trance and realized that they were not willing to put up with this nonsense anymore. And an even bigger human awakening began to unfold. But these controllers would not be deterred, no sirree. They just continued down their ridiculous path and they got even crazier. See, it never dawned on them that people might actually start thinking for themselves. Next, the crazy controllers wanted to take advantage of the collective trauma that they had caused the world for 2 entire years. See, they knew that trauma is a wonderful psychological gateway to some pretty outrageous mind control. And boy, did they have some outrageous programming in mind. They wanted us to completely lose touch with reality at the deepest, most primordial level. And here is how it started. It started with their sudden pretend lapse of memory about women. Even though the female sex has been around on planet Earth for literally millions of years in every single living species, the controllers suddenly said they had no idea what a woman is. And they said this with the greatest authority. Overnight, they invented a new form of science that I will call the science of confused reality. According to them, men can get pregnant and men can have babies. Men even menstruate. And men can even nurse those babies by taking special hormones. So you might say, if men can have babies and do all of that woman stuff, then why do we even need women? Well, the controllers, of course, had an answer for that one too. They figured they could just erase women. Problem solved. So if an actual woman had a child, they were called a birthing person. And then if they dared to breastfeed, well, no problem there. We'll just call them chest feeders. But they had an even better plan to get rid of women. They figured that if they sent men into women's bathrooms, then women would know for sure that women don't exist. And then to really drive the point home, they decided to let men compete in women's sports. See, they figured that as long as the men dressed like women, then no one would be the wiser. And now at this point, they pulled out their biggest finale. They said that gender is a fluid thing, and you can be anything you decide. You can even make up genders if you want. And thus were born the alphabet people. Okay, now picture yourself coming to Earth from another planet, and you come across all of this for the very first time. You might think that you accidentally stumbled into an alternate dimension where cartoons are born. Oh, but these controllers were not finished yet. They still had a lot more editing to do about their fantastical story that we were all supposed to believe. Because we are so bad, so full of carbon, and create way too much weather, then we need to stop eating real food. That's right. Maybe if they take our organic food away, we'll stop being so carbon-like. They decided that we needed a dietary change. So they created a new type of food pyramid just for us. Surely this new diet would make us stop hurting the planet by creating all of this weather. So here's the menu of the controller's new diet for all of us nasty carbon-based humans. No more meat, eggs, or fish. Instead, we should eat bugs. Things like mealworms and crickets and other assorted creepy, crawly things. They would just tell us it was protein, and being as stupid as they think we are, we would just go for that. Do you know they have even figured out how to make maggot milk? That's right. They have figured out how to make fake milk out of fly larvae. Surely that will help the weather. And then for the people who said, no bugs, we want meat. These crazy madcap controllers found an answer for that too. They would just invent fake, plasticized, and very gross blobs that they would label meat. I mean, if we would believe that men can get pregnant, then surely we would believe that these gross blobs were actual meat. Then they told us that the old style of electrical power is bad, and instead of generating normal electricity, they said that we could use these giant, weird propellers that kill whales and birds instead. They would just say they're windmills and that would make everything okay. And finally, in their secret meetings, they decided that the best way to lock us down permanently would be to trap us in special AI surveillance cities with control grids everywhere. And knowing how easily they can use words and then change the meanings of those words in order to trick us, they figured that all they had to do was call them smart cities, and we would think it makes us smart to live in them. And I mean, who doesn't want to look smart, right? They just figured that they could slap the label smart on anything they wanted us to buy into, and we would go for it. So the AI timeline that we were originally on was one where this insanity was destined to become our total way of life, and all of it run by the controller's use of AI. But here's where I think everything might have changed. As I've said many times, these controllers are not very bright. They gravely underestimated our true humanity. And our true humanness means that we have instincts and a higher level of innate intelligence. Because we've literally been around for millions of years, and we actually know a thing or two. You know, like how to smell a rat disguised as a group of friendly helpers. So the controllers of this planet might have totally blown it. They were so overly confident in their belief that they are smarter than us that they showed way too much of their hand too fast and too early on. They have been like a bunch of drunken sailors on crack who prematurely celebrated a victory that they never actually won. I think they said to themselves, these people were so stupid to fall for that giant health issue, along with everything we told them to do, that they are obviously a piece of cake for us to control. And then they proceeded to put everything out on the table so we could see what they are really all about. But now it seems like the tables are turning. They were not counting on the real human spirit and our innate desire to control our own destiny. They were also not counting on the fact that we are actually smarter than they knew. They never counted on humans actually awakening. And now we are at that pivotal moment that we saw in the movie The Wizard of Oz, where the big scary Oz is revealed to be just a little man hiding behind a curtain. You know, quite a long time ago, Telstar, the beings that I work with, said, at some point, you all are going to feel like Dorothy at the end of the movie. And I think what we're seeing today is the beginning of what they were talking about. In the Wizard of Oz movie, when the wizard is revealed as having deceived the main characters with an illusion of power that was actually fake, then he loses all power over them. And I think that's where these controllers are heading. In many cases, they are already there. The curtain was pulled back because of their arrogance, their aggression, and their belief that we are stupid. So what cards do they have left to play? Well, I think there are only two. One of those cards is war. They need war because their entire secret economy that they created just for their benefit runs on the war machine. They need war to keep their trillions of dollars of money flowing. And just like everything else these controllers do, it is incredibly stupid to make your money off of killing millions of people. Now the US under Trump is saying, hey, we're done with war. This is stupid. So now they're really flailing around. In fact, I think there are some European leaders who are suggesting that, well, maybe they can just break up Russia all by themselves. These guys are like a bunch of cornered animals who have gone insane. And since their House of War cards appears to be on the verge of collapse, what do you think they have left? Well, they still have one of their favorite, most desperate cards to play. And boy, are they trying. And that would be the card of censorship. See, they figure that the reason they have so many problems is because we humans are actually talking to each other. So they believe that if they can stop that, then they can somehow regain control. So now they're waving their little arms around and they're shrieking about misinformation. Misinformation is what's causing all of their problems. Besides, they know what the information that's correct is, right? The correct information is this: Elon Musk is a Nazi, Trump is a Nazi, and everything is a threat to democracy. So now it appears that their two favorite sayings are this: everyone's a Nazi, and the other one is threat to democracy. That's kind of all they've got left. And people talking to each other is the absolute worst threat to democracy. Does anyone even know what that means? I doubt it. I sure don't know what that means. People have been talking to each other for millennia. I never saw a history book that said, hey, don't let these carbon-based weirdos actually speak. That's a threat to democracy. No, never saw that in a history book, ever. There's an old saying, I don't know the exact quote, but it's something like, those whom the gods intend to destroy, they first make insane. And these controllers are literally looking quite insane in what appears to be, hopefully, their imminent defeat. And now the interesting thing is, it looks like they're really getting worried about AI, because it looks like they have lost control before they could finish building their entire AI planetary control grid. And this is why I think we may have shifted to a different AI timeline, and one that could potentially lead us to an even better technology that is more aligned with nature. It feels to me that on some level an incredible light has entered onto this planet, and that light would only be here because we humans, as divine creators, have summoned it with our sincere, heartfelt intent. But we also need to realize that this light is going to create an intense reaction from these controllers because they live right among the edges of the worst conceivable darkness. I mean, in short, it's just going to totally freak them out. And I think that's already happening. So we should probably expect this to be a very bumpy ride into the future. But here's what I hope we can all remember. If there is a far greater light on this planet, it's because our human sincerity, love, and heartfelt desire is what brought it here. And now I think we should each raise our vibration and expand our consciousness in order to meet it. The more that we do this, the more this light will expand and grow more powerful. Remember this simple principle. Light always eliminates darkness. It doesn't have to fight darkness. All it needs to do is increase its illumination of the truth more and more until darkness can no longer exist in its presence. See, the nature of darkness and evil is found in lies about reality. This is why the controllers never stop lying about literally everything. It's the realm they live in. If they stop lying, they will automatically shift to the realm of truth. They will have to align with goodness and life. They will have to align with the true loving nature of humanity and this planet. See, lies don't exist as a thing. They are merely the act of denying what is true. So these controllers have to constantly exert energy to keep their lies in place, because nothing in the real universe supports these lies. And we, on the other hand, simply have to release the unfortunate lies that we tell ourselves about ourselves. And when we do that, we automatically release our light. We don't have to generate anything. We just have to let go of what is not true. And then we need to get behind ourselves and live in support of our true nature. We need to be sovereign in our power and not be so easily influenced by the media and by the chaos of social media. If we do these simple things, we will find ourselves inspired about what to do next at a higher level of intelligence. And then we can hopefully play a role in ushering in a far more aligned timeline with advanced technology that supports all of us here on this beautiful planet Earth. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it somewhat entertaining and also very informative. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would enjoy it. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here on Tuesdays with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.